I thrive on the edges. I like to pushing the limit in what I do. So I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Hi, I'm Maximilian Büsser, founder of MB&F. To me, watchmaking is art with a capital A. Watchmaking is about creating kinetic sculptures. Watchmaking is more importantly a mindset. It's a journey. The watchmaking journey is first and foremost about special individuals. Some are rebels and mavericks, and most have a little touch of madness. Now, over the years, we have come to realize that many MB&F owners are adventurers themselves. Our collectors circle, called the Tribe, is full of such individuals. Many have life stories to tell, and this is why I decided to start this podcast. Welcome to MB&F's first podcast, Tales from the Tribe. Today I'm glad to welcome an adventurer, a fellow countryman, someone who reached a high level in two very different fields, sports and business. Swiss basketball fans probably remember him. He won 4 titles of Swiss Basketball League, and he is now one of the most reputed business lawyers in Dubai. Yann Mrazek, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Max. Great to be here.
So I'm going to just jump in. I have a question I need to ask. I heard you say in an interview that you moved to Dubai because you found Switzerland boring. Is that true?
Well, it certainly felt like this at the time. And if you recall, this was 25 years ago. Yeah. So you need to put that into some sort of context, the context of a young man in his early 20s that is aware of the market's glass ceiling and constraints and limits, and that pretty much wants to expand one's horizon. So that is with this in mind that you look at it and you say, okay, it's boring. But it's funny because when you look at Switzerland, you see conservative, you see predictable, you see slow-paced. So one could say boring. And now, with hindsight, you look at this as part of the charm of Switzerland. So to come back to the watch business, it's time, as it turns out, that gives Switzerland its character.
I totally agree. When I was in my 20s, I thought there's nothing happening here. And now I look back, and that's one of the most beautiful assets of Switzerland. It doesn't change. It's part of it. Yeah, right. So, basketball. Basketball is clearly a family affair at the Mrazeks. Your brother, Harold, and you played in the same team. And both of your parents were also professional basketball players. How is it growing up in that sort of environment?
Oh, yes. So my brother, he was amazing. Yeah. So absolute natural athlete. And it came from our parents. My mother was like a rock star in her days. She played world championship in basketball, like really, really special athlete. And what was fun with my brother is that, yes, we played in clubs. We played in the national team together as well. But we played against each other too. So imagine 2 cats going at each other. So that was pretty fun. But look, when you have someone in your family that is like legendary, like my parents were and my brother, you come in, you have this name, people are repeatedly measuring you against this yardstick, which frankly is not necessarily achievable. So you have to look at it with your own journey. Yeah. So it's there's this Linkin Park song that just came out, Heavy is the Crown, it's called. And that's it. It's really, really tough. But when you're young, you think first it's unfair. And you're like, all right, so why am I judged? Because it's a competitive sport after all. So you want to try to be the best. And actually at some stage, you evolve into another phase, which is almost like an acceptance phase. And you try to ask the right question, which is not, should I try to be the best? The right question is more, how can I be successful? How can I be a winning player? How can I be a great teammate? And when you move into that, you actually discover the secret. And the secret of success in sport, but also in life.
True. You played for how many years professional basketball?
11.
11, okay. So could you share some of the highlights and moments of that career?
That was a long time ago, but I'll give you 2. One is like this big picture, overarching, decade plus playing for the national team. And that is really, really cool. Remember, we were refugees in Switzerland. I received my passport at 17, and 3 months later, I was playing for the national team. So that is profound, yeah. the fact of the memories that you create, going with your friends, traveling Europe, doing tournament, playing together, winning some, losing a lot. I mean, it's really the whole experience of going through that. So this overarching experience, loved it. And then maybe at the more granular level, my last year in Switzerland, that was really epic. I was lucky to go and play for a small club with almost no budget, with mostly domestic Swiss players. And we were supported by a blue-collar team. They adopted us almost like sons, and we won the Swiss championship that year. So that was like completely against the odds, like almost like a movie. And one, put the ball down, retired there.
Wow. And so at what point in your career did you start thinking of life after basketball? Because a lot of people at a super high level in sports actually don't think of that second part of their life.
It's a much easier question to ask when you make good money for a student. So if you are, let's say in Switzerland, and you make a comfortable living playing ball, but it's not life-changing money, you have to plan to a certain extent. Now, some people are willing to follow two objectives at the same time, which I think is healthy. To me, going from studies to sport and back and forth was mentally healthy. But some people cannot do it. So the challenge is, all right, I know I will not make enough money through sport, so I need to try to find something else. But it's a very easy decision when you do it for yourself objectively. But now imagine you make 10 times more money. Let's imagine you make, I don't know, $600,000 per year. Then it's tempting to say, you know what, let me focus on my craft. Maybe if I just do sport, I'll be 10% better. Maybe I can make a little bit more money. Maybe I can push. I was unwilling to do that. Frankly, I don't think I had the talent to do it. My body was getting hurt too much to be able to pursue that. So for me, my body chose for me, which was very healthy again. But I would not have liked to do that. I think it's just too complicated.
Makes sense. So in the early 2000s, in parallel to your basketball career, you decided to study law at Fribourg University. Why law?
Completely by accident. So I went to this discovery journey, and then you have religion, you have journalism, you have like pretty much every specialty, and you go through it. And I look at the program, how many hours and at what time were actually these hour of classes. And law and economics, I discovered, where you had the least number of hours, and actually they were mostly in the mornings. So perfect, yeah. Economics, too much math, not for me. So law it was, started like this completely by accident. It fitted me well, but it was primarily to fit something around the basketball schedule, not the other way around.
Amazing. And what were your teammates or your coach's reaction then?
Again, you are in a professional environment where people do not necessarily make a lot of money. So living, studying, playing competitively in one city is not completely unusual. Quite a lot of people were doing that in team sports. Now, what became unusual is when I had this comfortable life in a very competitive team, being paid reasonably well, and that's my home city. So what did I do? I left. Because it became too comfortable. I mean, you have people that like the comfort of un carré de chocolat par jour. So it's like one burger per week, or like something that is like, okay, this little pleasure that comes every now and then. I do not subscribe to this. I do not feel comfortable in discomfort. I'm comfortable in discomfort. I like the edges. I like to push myself hard one way and the other. So the moment you are in this small city and pretty much what you are doing is not living, you are surviving. So I'm like, okay, how can I thrive? And to do that, I had to first leave town, to go to another part of the country, and later on to leave the country altogether.
Amazing. So 2005, very big year. You won your 4th title in the basketball league and passed the bar. Was that all planned, or did that just happen?
Well, you plan to an extent, you hope for the best, and actually you have these two highs coming together. What was awesome is I actually stopped playing for the year before. When I started my internship in Geneva, I stopped playing because I said, okay, I need to focus on that alone because otherwise I will fail. So I'll put myself in the best position. And then after 6 months, I got the grasp of it, and my teammates came calling, say, "Hey, come play with us again." And I didn't want to do it. And I went to my maître de stage, so my senior partner. I said, "Look, these guys are asking me to play again. I don't really want to do it. So please tell me I should not do it because it's silly." And I said, "You know what? You should do it. Because if you do not do it now, you will regret it for the rest of your life. We will support you. You're doing a great job. You can leave every day at 4 o'clock and travel 150 kilometers to go to practice." Yeah. So it was completely nuts. I was surprised by their support. I slept on it, and that's okay, I'll do it. What a grind, yeah. No days off, but the highs out of it, like amazing, Dude. I got lucky that I had this support from third-party people when I did not expect it. I actually really went to them hoping they would say no. They said yes, so I had to go for it.
That's an incredible story. So you're going to start your career once you've passed the bar in Geneva. And how did that work out?
So I enjoyed being in Geneva as a trainee very much. I was starting absolutely from zero, learning new skills. Everything is a discovery. I absolutely love that. But rapidly I saw that because I was not from the ecosystem, that you would have this limitation, this glass ceiling, being in this sort of machine, if you want, corporate machine that, frankly, I would not have been happy there. So that's when I looked around and say, all right, let's try and go abroad, somewhere where no one really is. It's not on the map. It's not mainstream. It's not New York, London, somewhere else. This place, Dubai, looks interesting. So that's what I've done. I rejected the offer that I had to stay. Again, took a commercial risk. I ditched the comfort and I went for the adventures. And I mean, boy, oh boy, did we get more than we asked for with my wife.
You moved here, you already had a job? You already had an offer, or you just came in with your suitcase hoping to find a job?
Sort of a job. So I had a spot at an office. I had an advance on salary, or an advance on production, if you want, from a very small firm with a shoestring budget. But it was a Swiss firm. That was at a time where momentum was really building up around the UAE as a whole, Dubai as a financial center, when you started to have a few banks coming here. And despite my knowing nothing, I was an absolute rookie discovering the Middle East, the ecosystem. These people trusted me because they came and said, look, it's new for us. It's new for you too, but at least you will not BS us. You will transparent with us. You will tell us if you know, and you will also tell us if you don't. And that, as it turned out, is a big value to people, is just being honest, and which is you do not necessarily see in all emerging markets. So started like this, and it built up from there.
Wow. Okay. So 3 years in that firm, and then you start your own firm, MHQ, right? So fast forward 15 years later, you're 180 employees at MHQ. It's got a pretty wide scope. You're very much a full-service platform catering to wealth and regulated financial institutions on one hand, and single-family offices and proprietary investment structure on the other. Well, we're just going to go down that 15-year rabbit hole. But first of all, your professional sports training way of thinking, how did that impact you starting your own company?
So any endeavor where you want to perform at a high level, you will develop habits. You will develop a process. You will develop a goal setting. You will enjoy or thrive in the process itself. Yeah. So these are transferable skills that you can take from sport or any other endeavor into business. And I mentioned the challenge of actually being in a family with a lot of successful people. And when then you turn into, how can I be the best teammate? That's also a transferable skills. So today, when I'm in this business environment, I try to apply these recipes. We try to plan for our people. We are very inclusive in terms of taking new people on board, trying to make sure that they deliver at the best of their abilities, because then it contributes to the greater good, which is the firm and its delivery to client. So sport, as it turned out, has plenty of lessons that you can translate into business. And that's what we try to apply at MHQ.
So what advice would you give with the hindsight to somebody starting their own business today, who are not you, of course, because not everybody is you by far?
Entrepreneurship for me is all about continuous planning and decision taking. So you will take countless decisions every day, every week, every month, every year. And guess what? Many will turn out to be wrong, or you will have to change them later on because the circumstances around you will change. Now, that doesn't matter. That's okay. What matters is that you bet slightly more than average over time, and that is progress. So as long as you take more good decisions than bad ones, you should be in a good spot. Now, this is just the basis. And then it's about how fast can you take decision and eventually lead. So it's pace and proactivity in decision making to me that are key in entrepreneurships. And there's this quote that we have on our walls in our office. I don't know if you saw it last time you visited, but it's the movie Margin Call. It's about the financial crisis, and you have Jeremy Irons there in this crisis meeting, and he says, "Look, the recipe in this business is you have to be first, you have to be smarter, or you cheat." And I don't cheat, he says, and neither do we, naturally. So how can you be first in any industry? That is key. It's critical to be first to go to market, to be first to come up with an idea, the first to implement it. Now, in our industry, that is slightly different because it literally means you try to contribute to write the rules of the game. You work with the government on how can we improve this rather than waiting passively. So that is, I think, one of the key is decision making, but the proactivity in decision making and decision taking and the pace in trying to implement that.
You've been incredibly successful. I like to ask a question is, looking back, what would you have done differently? It can be in business or in personal life. Are there things today you think about that?
Well, I do. That being said, I'm big on embracing the journey, as you probably feel the highs, yes, but also the lows and the grind in between. So doing things differently, you can learn from everything that you've done. And did I do mistakes? Yeah, sure, plenty, and it's okay. Again, I'm teaching that to my kids. It's do a mistake, but just rectify after, and then you have a valid lesson in life. So no problem at all. I mean, one thing that I would probably do differently is I got hurt a lot, and because I was just training too much. And I was not listening to my body, which was a mistake. Yes, so think Rafael Nadal versus Federer. Now, Rafael Nadal, amazing guy, but got hurt every year until at some stage he was too old to be silly. So then he stopped getting hurt actually when he was older, because he was finally listening to his body. But I think if you look at the business aspect, what I would have done slightly differently is to formalize my approach to business earlier, to visualize it. So let me put that into context. So I was always a big believer in giving without expecting anything in return. Giving your time, giving an advice, a smile sometimes. Yeah, you come to the office today, you see people you don't know. What about being nice? How much did that cost you? Yeah, and that is all part of giving. And I was always like this a little bit, probably not enough. We had this tradition at the firm, which is called the Book of the Year. So very early, like 10 years ago, I picked up a book that I would read. I would select it. I would give it to our friends, our clients, our network, our tribe. And one of the books that we picked was something called The Go Giver. It was a small book, but super powerful idea about be generous with others, give your time, give everything. And I'm reading this just reinforced me in the belief that this is the right way to do business. It's the right way to live. And had I seen that earlier, it would have accelerated my growth as a human being and in turn as a business person. So the recipe here is, okay, read more. I read more and read earlier because I was already reading enough, but not enough, it seems. And that is the recipe.
I think maybe you were not ready to hear it either. I mean, so the book is The Go-Giver, and instead of being a go-getter, which takes, you're a go-giver and you give. And I was reading that, and I realized amongst the things I would have liked to do differently is indeed be more generous when I was younger. Generous doesn't mean in money, which I didn't have. It means in time, in empathy. And yeah, I came to the same conclusion as you, which is what I apply now. But if I'd done that in those days, I would have less regrets today. So thank you very much. So talking about reading a book, I can manage to read more or less a book a year because I get immersed in business, the company, the family, and I've got guilt that I'm not spending enough time in all the different places I should be. Where do you go to get a rest? Where do you go to slow down and take your time? Do you have a place?
I do, but it's not necessarily slowing down. I think it's finding balance, because slowing down does not necessarily rebalance you. I mentioned at the top, I thrive on the edges. I like to pushing the limit in what I do. So I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. I admit, I work hard. I enjoy what I do immensely. I do that with a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. So to find some sort of balance, some we time or me pockets with the family, etc., I try to counterbalance that with as much energy as what I put in the other endeavors, which is like my business life. Yeah. So I practice hard. And my sportsman regimen has not changed much.
So you continue playing basketball?
I don't play ball.
Okay.
I literally put the ball down, turn around, and never touch one until my kids ask me, hey, we've seen this picture. What is this? And I explained, and now they both play. So it's fun. But I have a home gym that I built around the family specs, and it's like really disciplined. I hit the gym this morning and I feel much better for it. Lots of energy, and it's great. I also like intense experiences. So I'm a big music guy. I played violin for 12 years until I was 17, I think. So I did that on top of the studying and the sport, would you believe? And I was not very good eventually, but still finished the conservatorium. So all right. But I love a live concert. And you know what I love more than a live concert? A live concert with friends. Because this is the closest thing I've found to being with a team playing sport and the highs and lows, except you do not have many lows at a concert, except if you go and listen to Bon Jovi, because these days they are not very good anymore. This typically would be something that I seek, these extraordinary experiences. Think live concert, think fantastic food, think fantastic wine, and you share it with others. So it's all about quality to rebalance everything you do, but intensity as well.
Sharing. Can we just come back to Dubai, actually? So you've been living here for practically 20 years. What do you enjoy in Dubai? What would you tell people about Dubai?
So a lot of people have this misconception about Dubai in itself. It's bling, it's carried by a lot of people that come here because they feel it's the El Dorado. I will tell you what Dubai gives you. Dubai gives you, and I think you're in the same boat here as an entrepreneur that opted to move here. What it gives you is choice. The ability to allocate your time for what really matters. So at a certain level of available income, the UAE gives you the opportunity to choose, hey, what matters, I will focus my time on. What doesn't, I can actually have someone do it with me or for me. I can be at my kids' practice and games almost all the time, which I could not do in Switzerland. I can shoot hoops at home. We have a home court here, which I could not have in Switzerland. And my parents almost never came to one of my games when I was young because they had two jobs. They were working at night. My father was coaching as well. So, I mean, you would never see them for that. We would eat alone. That is part of the time. Another one, I do not drive. I don't have a driving license. So using a driver is both safer, but it's also more relaxing. And it enables me to allocate the time to the things I like. So you mentioned this one book per year. We are going to work on this. We're going to improve that. But I'm in the car every morning, unless something pops, I read 30 pages. So I can read a book or I can, I don't know, listen to Tales of the Tribe.
Let me just switch gears here. So when we met, I remember that you never wore a watch, which is fine for me. And then one day, many years later, you started your watch journey with an MB&F. And that is incredibly rare. Usually there's a journey. You will start with your Amiga and then go to a Rolex and I don't know, a Jaeger, a Patek, etc., Lange. And then finally you will find us. So you went from nothing to us. Can you maybe take us through that amazing leap?
I think it will become clear. And I was thinking about it actually before, and it's just very logical. So let me walk you through my thinking here. I was never one to chase the mainstream gratification. For me, it's always about emotions. So I know the way the thread of a fine suit or bespoke shoes would make you feel. Think of the emotion that comes from tasting extraordinary food or extraordinary wine. So I don't follow trends. I dress the way I dress. I have no collectible clothes. I don't have jewelry. So mainstream, not for me. But I have a substantial wine cellar at home and it's very full. Why? Because it's all about sharing with the people you like, a high quality product. You create a memory together and you have something that really is deep in making you enjoy life. So it's with the same mindset that I really approach the first thing, which was buying art. So when I was 18, I spent money that I didn't have on the first painting in Prague. 2,400 Swiss franc at the time. Remember, like it was yesterday. I just did not have that money. But I love this painting. I went there day after day after day for 2 weeks. I said, I must have it. The artist still sells at the same price. But you know what? It's one of my most prized possessions because I really started the journey with that. So from art, then I have large paintings. I'm a sucker for sculpture. I have plenty at home, in and outside the house. And then all of a sudden, and probably to no surprise to you, I discovered these kinetic machines. And I'm like, wow, this is for me. This is great. It moves. It has life. It has soul. Absolutely love that. And I went through that. And then I really discovered MB&F through M.A.D.Gallery. And at some stage, I just see these watches, these pieces, and I'm like, I would like a timepiece like this as a piece of art, not as a piece of jewelry or as a statement. I don't care what people think, but I love the way it makes you feel.
I love it. Thank you so much. We don't create to get kudos and thank yous, but when it happens, it really makes our day more beautiful. So thank you very much. So you talked about your children, the fact that they actually play basketball. And are they into competitive sports? Are they following the path of the Mrazek family?
They are without my pushing them, yeah. So they tried various sports and activity like they should. I think life, particularly at that age, 16, 14, is about discovery, trying new things, failing, liking something, not liking something. They happen to now both play basketball rather well. More importantly, they enjoy playing. They have fun doing it. And as I mentioned before, life is very demanding on kids in general. I think more now than it used to be. School is super competitive. So you need an escape. You need something where you can get some new energy but also get the frustration out. And basketball is a very good way to do that. We built a home court in the garden, which is like the dream when you're young. Yeah. So I did it better late than never.
That makes sense. Now switching to actually your life, you're 47, 48. You've probably achieved something you never expected. You're probably where you never expected to be. Then the question is, when you're at that level of success, where next? Where is Yann Mrazek in 5 or 10 years?
We mentioned this leading, trying to contribute, and that's what we've done here in the UAE, because when I arrived, it was a complete offshore center full of pirates and crooks, yeah? It is now Tier 1 financial center. It is the place every successful single family office or ultra high net worth is looking at to say, okay, I want to be there. It is a right ecosystem for me. It is safe. It is secure. It has a deal flow. It has everything. And when you help create that to a small extent, it would be a bit silly to abandon it. So the quality of life is remarkable here. So I think I'll do 2 things. I think I'll probably keep a foot here. I love this place. It gives me a lot of energy. It's very well connected as well. And then it really depends on my kids. If my kids want to go back to Switzerland to study, we will probably shift closer to them and with them. And if they want to go to Japan, we'll go to Japan. But look, my kids are 16 and 14. We never done a holiday without them, ever. And because for me, I'm going on holiday because I want to spend time with my kids, not it's me time and I'm going up. We are traveling, you and I, enough on business, which is grind. So a proper trip is pleasure. And if my kids tomorrow tell me, hey, I want to go to Spain to study, we'll go probably closer to there. But the Middle East has a very special place in my heart. And I love the people here. We are ingrained in the community. We service GCC families, which is almost unheard of for people with our skin tone. So very gratifying. So most likely not going very far or for very long, but I think it will be some mix of going back to boring Switzerland and staying here in dynamic Middle East.
I like to conclude my interviews with one question, which is, I think, very important, is what advice would you have given your younger self?
So we talked about the generosity with your time, which is true, but I would counterbalance that with something else. I think be unreasonably selective in the relationships that you curate. A lot of people throw the name friends just too much. And to me, the definition of friendship, and I'm interested in knowing yours, is you need to have common values. You need to have reciprocity. It's like, I would do for you, you will do for me, and I do not even need to ask. And there's something else. You need to create an extraordinary memory together. If you have these three things, then you have one. And you can only have this with only so many people. It's just not realistic to think everyone is your friend. It's not. We have enemies everywhere in the market. People want to go after you, and that's okay. But if you try to satisfy everyone and everyone is your friend, it's the recipe for disaster. So be unreasonably selective, find the right people, do everything that you can for them, because it will come back to you.
It's great advice. It's very enlightening. I think I would tell myself to be less emotional. I used to get incredibly emotional when a problem happened. And instead of concentrating on the solution, I would concentrate on the emotion. Hence, I got 2 ulcers, once when I was 28 and one when I was 31. But I think your advice is really, really strong. Also, the other point was that when I created MB&F, like soon 20 years ago, I thought it was about creating great products. And yeah, we've created extraordinary products, but those will remain once I've departed this world. But for me, it's the journey and the memories. And it's coming back to what you said, is creating those memories together. And when I look at one of our creations, I don't look at the product itself. I remember the story behind it. And I think that's when we all get older, we start realizing the stories are so much more important. So look, Yann, thank you so much for this moment of sharing. It's been incredibly enlightening. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation and that you had a glimpse at Yann's fascinating journey. We'll soon be back for a conversation with another of our tribe members. If you enjoyed today's episode, remember to subscribe to our podcast so as not to miss our next conversations. Stay curious, keep exploring, and cherish your madness.